Welcome to this week's video. So what we're going to talk about today is rest and recovery, okay, and why it is so important when we are coming to the gym and training in all aspects of our life, whether it be stress management or in the gym, away from the gym, it doesn't matter, okay. Rest and recovery plays a massive part in working towards improving our health, fitness, and just longevity of life. What we're going to cover today is what is recovery and why is it so important. So we all may think and have different opinions on what recovery is. So I'm going to give you some definitions on what it actually is relative to strength and conditioning and improving the health and fitness. We're going to look at the three big recovery methods, which are the most important ones, probably the not so sexy ones. They're just the core ones that actually improve it. So we'll cover them and hopefully you'll have a good understanding of why they're so important and help you to then implement them. And then we'll look at these are the ones that are maybe a bit more attractive that you might see on Instagram or pay people to do, and they're like the smaller recovery methods, and we'll look at the pros and cons of each of them. Why do we need to recover from training then? So if we think of training as stress to the body, that every time you go and conduct some physical training, it applies stress to the body. The body then adapts to the stress and becomes fitter and stronger over time, right? So if you look on the right-hand side here, this is training. So if we look, the line going down the middle, that is your fitness, your strength, your fitness, your power. That is your fitness, all right? So if we look at the just right line, the green one, as you train, your body gets stressed and it goes into a state of fatigue, okay? That's why it goes below, all right? From that, when you allow the recovery, see where it says recovery on the green line, you then become fitter, you super compensate, and then you go above your baseline, all right? So, and then obviously it drops off as you super compensate. If you stop training, it then drops off, and that's why you have to train again, so it stresses the body, and then you go above your baseline, then it comes down, and it's a nice steady flow like that, and over time, the baseline gets higher. That's how we train. That is like the science behind training, okay? If we look on the red line now, so this is someone who maybe trains, so they apply the fatigue, but they don't allow the recovery, and they train again and they train again, and see how the line is constantly trying to fight to recover. So when you eventually do recover, you just return to the point of that you were prior to the training. This is what's called overtraining. So it's important to have the right amount of stress placed on your body to super compensate and get fit and stronger, all right? So why is it so important then? So as I've just mentioned there, too much training and the adaptation doesn't take place, all right? So when you stress the body, if you don't recover, then your body won't adapt to the stress and become fitter and stronger, all right? Does that make sense in terms of if we're doing too much training, that's how it can negatively impact us, right? So you might see this with yourselves or other people who constantly go to the gym, red line all the time, go as hard as they can, and they're not particularly fit, they're not particularly healthy. This could be why, all right? Amongst other factors in terms of nutrition and stuff like that, but overtraining can really negatively impact your hard work in the gym, all right? So, as it mentions there, not enough recovery, and the body does not only return to its normal state, it can decline. So the more training you do, if it's not done correctly, it can actually make you unfitter and decline the body's fitness levels. So it's quite important to understand this when it comes to our training, all right? And recovery is where the adaptation takes place. So when we go to the gym, the hard work's done there, and obviously that's an essential part of the process, but the actual adaptation where we become fitter, stronger, healthier is during the recovery, all right? And I want you to remember that because it's very important. Into the three big recovery methods then. So these are the three most important things to help with your recovery and your rest, all right? And I'm going to keep banging on about it, but I know it's hard to get, but it is the most important one. Sleep, okay? 8 hours plus is the biggest recovery method you can do. And obviously someone who's got a new baby, my baby's 8 months, so I fully appreciate we ain't getting 8 hours. But if you can, if you have older kids who allow you to sleep right through, if you are on your own, if you have no kids, if you have no real stress and you finish work handy, you should be getting 8, 9, 10 hours sleep, okay? Sitting watching Netflix and all that, which we all do, that's cool, but understand it does impact your recovery. As it says there, the benefits are increased testosterone, which is going to help in the gym, higher performance, less risk of injury, less risk of illness, and improved skill development in terms of work or your sports training or your day-to-day life, all right? This is the biggest performance enhancing attribute away from obviously the likes of like steroids, which obviously sports athletes take and stuff like that. Other than that, this is the biggest improvement to your performance in day-to-day life, all right? And all this stuff, as I've mentioned before, all these information I'm giving you, this is all backed by research. I don't include the references for the purpose you're probably not interested, but if anyone is interested in the papers that back up all this stuff I'm saying, then please just let me know. So just understand, this is not my opinion, this is based off research, all right? Each week when I do these videos, I research, look at the lectures, look at the literature, and then give you the information, all right? Next one, moving on then, the nutrition part of it, your calories and protein, all right? So this is a big one again, fueling the body helps with recovery post-training, all right? So having adequate fuel in your body helps speed up the healing process from the stress placed on the body, all right? So this one's quite simple when you understand it. If you think of a car, for example, if there's no fuel in the car isn't going to go anywhere, is there? And if you're constantly putting like £1 worth of fuel in, or £2 or £3, it's going to get places, but it's going to chug away, it's going to struggle, it's going to really struggle to get from A to B. Where if you put a nice big £50 worth of petrol and good quality petrol, it's going to drive smoothly, isn't it? Or whether you put like £50 worth of oil in and you look after your car, this is the same. It's going to help, all right? So you need to be making sure you're eating enough calories, you're not eating too much, you're not eating too little, and also we're giving our body the protein to help with building the muscle and allowing the muscles to recover. So everyone who's obviously part of Elevate should have their calories and protein set by me. If that is sort of not affecting your body correctly, let me know and we can reevaluate it, all right? But that's another one. So far we've got sleep, nutrition, and then the third one, which is obviously my job as your coach, is good gym programming, so the correct level of stress. So as you know, when you come to Elevate, we have people who are 10 years into it, and we have people who are 8 weeks, and we have people who are day one. Use different weights, don't you? Use different intensities, and you sometimes even use different movements. That's me applying the correct level of stress to your body, okay? So you don't really need to worry about that too much, just understand why it is we do that, all right? And as it says there, training at the correct intensity and progressing steadily allows you optimally to recover and adapt to the training, and that's where obviously I earn my money, and I'm a good coach, and I research it, and then I apply these theories and practical application to use as my athletes, all right? So you don't really need to worry too much about that. But just to summarise, sleep, nutrition, and good gym programming, they are the 3 biggest recovery methods you can do. Into some smaller recovery methods then, which is probably what you associate with recovery, all right? And that's common. This is normal. I get asked this all the time, all right? So on the screen, there's 3 common smaller recovery methods, all right? So on the left, ice bath. So it's going to rattle through these because you can read these in your own time. So the pros to recovery, all right? This is recovery, nothing else. We're talking about recovering from training. It's likely to reduce muscle soreness and perceived recovery after high intensity training. So after you train, if you were to go home and have an ice bath, it is likely to help with the soreness. Obviously, it's going to be horrendous sitting in an ice bath. I personally don't do it, but I know some people who do. It will help with getting rid of a bit of soreness. And then, as it says there, the research shows the perceived score. So the next day, the research shows the people who have ice baths would say, oh yeah, I feel less sore. Whether they do or not, who knows, but they perceive it to be affecting them and helping them recover, okay? So that's the ice bath. Negatives of the ice bath is it can negatively affect your adaptation to weight training due to blunting the inflammation. So when we apply the stress, we inflame the muscles and the tendons and the joints, and then that's how we adapt to it, all right? But by having an ice bath, it can actually blunt that. So it might help with not making you as sore, but it can negatively impact your growth and your strength, all right? So that's a possible con of the ice bath, all right? Moving on, foam rolling. So this one, it improves your flexibility short term, so for 10 minutes, and pain scores from training again. So what that means is, if you were to come into Elevate 10 minutes early and have a little foam roll, that might help with your flexibility going into the movements, all right? 10 minutes post. After that, it goes away, all right? And then looking at the cons, it doesn't actually change the muscle. Flexibility is due to short-term change. So as I just mentioned there, it will help you for 10 minutes afterwards, but then an hour afterwards, you're back to the original muscle state. So that's a quick fix, a short-term fix. If you're really sore, 10 minutes before lifting, you might come in and do a little bit of foam rolling, okay, as a quick fix. But understand, it's not going to help you long-term, all right? Final one, this is the big one. This is the big one. And as I've mentioned, this is not my opinion. This is backed by research and literature. The pros of stretching for recovery, there is none, all right? So if you've been in the gym and you've had a good session with myself, afterwards doing some stretching will not help your recovery from that session, all right? So as it mentions there, it may increase your mobility. So if you were to go to yoga, it may help with your mobility, but that's not going to help with the recovery from the weight training, all right? That's a pretty common misconception. And a con of stretching, it may lead to increased DOMS, which is soreness, and it's not recommended after training. So all the literature now, all the modern day literature and research says you should not stretch after training. So this is actually why we don't do it at Elevate. Stretching may increase mobility, so if you go to yoga and do all your stretches, you may get more mobile, but it will not help with your DOMS or your stiffness from lifting, all right? And as I said, it may actually make you more sore. One thing I will say, when we do our lifting, that is a form of stretching. If you think about it, your hamstrings are getting stretched during a hinge, your quads are getting stretched during a squat, your upper body and your back and your chest is getting stretched via the push-pull movements we do. So you do get mobilising stretching there. But yeah, in terms of post-training stretching, it actually is not recommended, okay? So to summarise, guys, key points here: focus on sleep, nutrition and correct programming. Use smaller methods at a specific time if you need to. And finally, allow your body time to recover from the training. It's very important, all right? Obviously, at Elevate, you train 3 or 4 times a week. 3 are our core sessions, and then obviously we've got the option to do some open gyms if you want to get an extra session in. But that should allow adequate time for you to adapt, recover, and then go again the next week, okay? If you have any questions on this video, just please let me know.